Prostitution is a complex and controversial issue that has been debated for centuries. While some people argue that prostitution is a choice and should be legalized, others believe that it is a form of exploitation that should be criminalized. In order to better understand this issue, it is important to examine the various factors that contribute to prostitution and the impact that it has on not only individuals, but society as a whole. The first factor to consider is poverty. Many people turn to prostitution as a means of survival, particularly those in areas with high rates of unemployment and poverty. According to a study by the World Health Organization, poverty is a major risk factor for prostitution, with women and girls from marginalized communities being particularly vulnerable. In many countries, sex work is the only way for individuals to earn a living, particularly those who lack other economic opportunities, for example, third world countries. This highlights the need for policies that address poverty and provide alternative forms of income for those who are struggling. Another factor to consider is human trafficking. Many people who are involved in prostitution are victims of trafficking, which involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to exploit individuals for a financial gain. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, human trafficking is a major global problem with an estimated 25 million victims worldwide. This highlights the need for policies and support needed for victims. For example, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 1 in 7 endangered runaways reported to them in 2019 were likely victims of child sex trafficking. This statistic helps establish the seriousness of the issue of prostitution and highlights the need for action. In addition to these factors, it is important to consider the impact that prostitution has on individuals and society as a whole. Prostitution can have a devastating impact on not only the physical, but the mental health of those involved, as well as their friends and family. For example, a study by the American Journal of Public Health found that women involved in prostitution were more likely to experience violence and suffer from substance abuse and mental health issues. In the article, The Case for Decriminalizing Sex Work, O'Neill states there is considerable evidence from public health researchers that criminalization of sex work contributes to community violence, propagates crime, blocks access to public health resources, is an ineffective deterrent to participation in sex work, and is deeply harmful to sex workers. Either way, whether legalized or not, there are pros and cons on both sides of the spectrum. Furthermore, prostitution can have a negative impact on society as a whole. It can contribute to the spread of sexually transmitted infections and sexually transmitted diseases, as well as increase rates of drug use and crime. Additionally, the legalization of prostitution can lead to an increase in sex tourism and exploitation of vulnerable populations. This being said, prostitution should not be legal. That does not mean that those involved should face serious crimes. As stated before, some parties involved often have no choice or feel that they have no choice. Regulating the industry would be beneficial in several ways to all aspects of society. However, the legalization of prostitution is not without its challenges. One of the main concerns is that it would increase the demand for sex work, which would lead to an increase in human trafficking and exploitation as well. In conclusion, prostitution is a complex issue that requires a nuanced approach and requires careful consideration of the various factors involved. While it is important to consider the various factors that contribute to prostitution, it is equally important to recognize the impact that it has on individuals and society as a whole. By addressing poverty, human trafficking, and the health and safety of those involved in prostitution, we can work towards solutions that benefit everyone. But a step in the right direction would be keeping prostitution illegal as it is today and not legalizing it.